Hey guys, it's Alyssa. I'm actually in my car, but in a parking lot, so I'm not driving right now. I'm actually at an auction house. I went in for the preview, and the auction doesn't start for another about 20 minutes or so. Okay, I decided to hold my phone because my phone holder thing was not working. Anyway, Christine, who watches my videos, asked for me to make a video about pricing Etsy items, and I thought that was a good idea. I don't think of myself really as an expert on pricing because I know I get things wrong sometimes, but I do try to do my best. First of all, when I'm buying items, my goal, and of course I don't necessarily know the value of things sometimes when I'm buying them, but I try not to pay more than a third of what I think I'll be listing it for. So, if it's something like I know how much it sells for, like I just bought that rotary phone not too long ago, and it just sold too. And I know those sell for like $40 or $50. I've sold them before. So, $10, I knew that was a good deal. If it was $20, I might have passed it up. I might have still bought it because I know it's going to sell, but yeah, the goal I have for myself is I want to be able to list it for 3 times what I've paid for it. That doesn't really mean that I've made 3 times the money because you have to take into account fees and things like that. But that's the goal for me. And a lot of times with the Etsy stuff, I pay a lot less than that because you can just get stuff for, much cheaper if you are a smart shopper, and you'll find some great deals at auctions. Hopefully I'll find one at the auction that I'm going to go to in a little bit. I don't know, it didn't look like a lot of great stuff, but I'm gonna really just, I think, go for the box lots. There were a few that looked like they could be good, and if they go for cheap, then they'd be worth it, but there's a lot of junk in there right now. But in terms of pricing, first of all, research items and find out what they're selling for online. Obviously, research on Etsy because that is your competition. You don't have to be the lowest price seller, and in fact, I would recommend that you not be the lowest price seller. And when you are researching, make sure that you compare condition. I had a rotary phone, I tested it, it worked. So I'm not comparing it against phones that don't work, I'm just comparing it to phones that work, that are in good condition. But yeah, I don't think there's any need to be the lowest price seller on Etsy. I usually am not, and I still sell plenty of items. People that are buying on Etsy are not necessarily bargain shoppers, so they're not really looking for the best deal. They're looking for the nicest item, really, and that's what they're concerned with. They do pay attention, I think, to feedback, to the layout of your shop, to the different items you have, things like that. And when I'm researching, yes, I use Etsy. Sometimes it's something that's not on Etsy, so I use eBay to research prices. And eBay is kind of weird with pricing. If you're researching prices on eBay, I would say only look at the completed listings, the sold completed listings, because otherwise it's really meaningless. People can put any price on there and often do. I see people put stuff up at auction and way underprice it, and it sells for cheap, but it's really worth more than that. And I'll see people that list things with, crazy high prices that they're probably never going to get for it. So the completed listings give you a more realistic view of the value of an item. And this is good for items that are, relatively common, easier to find because you'll find them on eBay and Etsy. But you are going to run into items that are rare or, not too common. And then you might not be able to find something that you can compare it to online. This happens to me from time to time. Rarity is good. It means something's usually worth more. Of course, it depends on if somebody wants it or not. So, and with rare items, if you aren't able to find it anywhere, eBay, Etsy, a Google search, if nothing turns up, use your best judgment in terms of, the type of item it is, its value to you, what you perceive it to be. If you're still confused, you might want to look at your local library for reference guides. I know some libraries subscribe to databases that offer, like auction values, completed auction values, like from auction houses. So, you know, check with your library if they subscribe to something like this. You can use that research tool too. That's awesome. And if you wanted to like pay for something, there's WorthPoint. A lot of the WorthPoint stuff is actually coming from, you know, completed eBay sales though, so it's not that helpful. But it depends. Now, if it's something that I've sold in the past, like I know what I can sell it for, like that phone, backgammon sets, you know, I know that if I put them up at $40, I will sell them and sell them pretty quickly. I could probably ask a little bit more and get more money if I was willing to wait a little bit longer. But, you know, to me, I can still make decent money and I can make it quickly, so I'm happy to do that. So that's why I buy those phones and backgammon sets, list them, sell them right away. Well, not right away, but pretty quickly. And, you know, just certain things that I sell all the time, I kind of have a pretty good idea of what they'll sell for. Like I've known that I've sold, you know, like a baby book for $20 or $15 in the past or something. So I can, you know, I'll list the next one at that price. One other thing you want to take into account is that, you may not get your asking price. Usually I do, but occasionally I do have people that send me, you know, if I have something listed for $50 and they will say, hey, would you take $40 for it? A lot of times I'll accept an offer, especially if it's something that I've had in the shop for a while. Like if it's something I've just listed, I'm probably not gonna, you know, accept an offer on it because I'll just see if it sells. But if I've already relisted it one time, and then somebody makes an offer on it, yeah, I might take it. So I do try to price my items a little bit higher than the lowest I'd be willing to accept. It's not like eBay where people really lowball you on offers. When I've gotten offers on Etsy, they're usually pretty reasonable. But yeah, you might want to like think to price an item maybe 10% higher than the lowest you'd be willing to accept. At least that. You could even price it higher than that if that's what it's worth. But that way you don't feel like you're losing too much money in terms of if you accept an offer on something. You also might want to start out a little higher, and if something doesn't sell, then when you're relisting it, change the price. I do this very often. The longer I've had something, the more likely I am to say, hey, I'm going to drop the price on this a little bit. You can use third-party apps that, you know, do like an on-sale thing. You can also use Etsy coupon codes. I have in the past for different things. I used to actually, I think, include a coupon code with every order that I sold. And you can make these for a percentage off or a dollar amount off. So if you're planning on doing that, then you also might want to price your items a little higher than you'd be willing to accept because, you know, you're going to be selling items for less money. Now, one other thing to take into account when you're pricing your items is shipping. Now, I list my items and the buyer pays shipping. So I'm not paying shipping, but some items are very big and heavy and expensive to ship and they might not be worth that much. So that is something I take into account when I'm buying items, but it's also something I take into account when listing items. Sometimes I will list an item for a little bit higher price and make the shipping price a little bit lower than I know it's going to cost me to ship an item. Just because if you have an item listed for, you know, $10 and the shipping charge is $9, that might scare buyers away. So I might list it, you know, for $15 and, you know, make the shipping $5 or something, and that seems more reasonable to a buyer, even though it works out the same for you in the end. Well, that worked out $1 more, but you get the idea. So, you know, how much is it going to cost you to ship? How much is the item worth? Is something to take into account when you're buying items, but it's also something to take into account when you're listing and how you price items. You will pay more fees, you know, if you have the shipping cost built into your item cost, the way the Etsy fees work. But you might also sell the item quicker, so it's, you know, it's a trade-off. You have to think about it that way too. Yeah, it looks like I should probably be headed into that auction, and I'll see if I get anything good. Maybe I'll make a haul video if I find some cool stuff. I'm not sure. I'm really getting low on Etsy inventory, so I feel like I have to like go to these things. I have never been to this auction before. It's not too far away from me, and there are some stores sort of in this area that I like to go to, so for like Amazon stuff mostly, so I didn't mind trekking up here. It's a little bit out of the way, actually. You know, it's a little off the beaten track, but yeah, I'll see what I find, and maybe I'll make a video if I find anything cool. Okay guys, I hope your sales are going great, and I'm not sure when I'm posting this, but I'll hopefully post it soon, and I will also get my usual weekly what I sold on Etsy video out to you guys. Okay guys, happy selling everyone! Hey guys, just checking back in. I know I said goodbye, but I thought I'd let you know how I did at the auction, which was not that well. It's the first time I've ever gone to this auction, and it is probably the world's slowest auction I've ever gone to, so I didn't stay for the whole time. Stuff was getting bid up to kind of crazy high prices, which I wasn't interested in. All I did was I spent, well, with the premium, I think it came to about $17 on a box of paper dolls, vintage paper dolls. So, I don't know if I can show them to you. They're back there. Anyway, that's all I got. I did just stop at a thrift store I like and bought a few things, so I think I did better here at the thrift store than I did at the auction. But yeah, I was just there for the box slots part of it, and I've gone to auctions before, and normally with box slots, they group them together. With this auction they did was they auctioned each single box slot individually, which took forever, and it also took forever because the auctioneer had to like go through and identify everything that was in the lot before actually starting the bidding, which that's what the preview is for, so I don't know what the point of that was. But yeah, it just dragged on. Normally when you have box slots, what they'll do is they'll group together maybe like 10 of them and, you know, let people bid, and, you know, it's choice, you know, whatever the highest bid is, whoever gets the highest bid, can then pick out of the boxes that are there. They can take one, or they can take all 10 of them, or, you know, any number of them that they want. And it goes like that until nobody's bidding, and then they just, you know, auction off with the remaining ones for like a single bid, or group them in the next lot or something like that. But no, this auction, they were just auctioning each single box lot individually, and stuff that I didn't really think was worth that much was getting like bid up to kind of high prices. I'm surprised I got the paper dolls. I had looked at them, and there's a few in there. There's the Flying Nun, which was the most exciting one, but there's some other ones too, and they're used, they're punched out, but they're in good shape. And so I'd said, you know, the most in my head, I decided the most I would bid on that was $18, and only went up to $15, so I won that one. But yeah, some of the other ones, I couldn't believe how high they went for. So anyway, I probably won't be going back to this auction again. I am not a huge fan of the auction house auctions. I kind of prefer the estate auctions because I just seem to do better at them. But anyway, okay, thank you guys for watching. I'm off to hit a few more stores and then home. I just got my lunch. I went to Wawa, so I'm all fired up now and ready to do a little more shopping. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.